Today we're marking the anniversary of the birth of a king who united two crowns and left an indelible mark on British history. King James VI of Scotland, King James I of England. James was born on the 19th of June 1566 at Edinburgh Castle, the only son of Mary Queen of Scots and her second husband Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. It was a difficult birth, and Mary is said to have prayed fervently during her labour. When the infant was safely delivered, she was said to have smiled and declared, "My Lord, God's will be done. I now begin to be a mother." He was baptised Charles James on the 17th of December 1566 at Stirling Castle in a lavish Catholic ceremony that reflected his mother's faith. The name Charles honoured his godfather, King Charles IX of France. But he was known by the name James, after his maternal grandfather, James V, and in keeping with the Stuart tradition. But James's early life was far from peaceful. His father, Lord Darnley, was murdered in 1567 under mysterious and controversial circumstances, an event that would ultimately contribute to Mary Queen of Scots' downfall. Just a few months later, Mary was forced to abdicate the throne, and her baby son was crowned King James VI of Scotland at the tender age of 13 months. He was raised as a Protestant under the guardianship of the powerful Scottish nobility, and for most of his early reign, regents ruled in his name. James grew up in a dangerous and deeply divided Scotland, but he proved to be intelligent, politically astute, and surprisingly stable given his turbulent start. He was a gifted writer and thinker, and believed strongly in the divine right of kings, the idea that monarchs were appointed by God and accountable only to him. In 1589, James married Anne of Denmark, the daughter of King Frederick II. Their marriage began with a dramatic twist. When storms prevented Anne's journey to Scotland, James sailed across the North Sea himself to fetch her. Together they had several children, though only 3 survived to adulthood, including Henry, Prince of Wales, who sadly died young, Elizabeth of Bohemia, and James's heir, the future Charles I. When Queen Elizabeth I of England died childless in 1603, James was her closest heir, being descended through his great-grandmother Margaret Tudor, the sister of Henry VIII. And so James became James I of England, uniting the crowns of Scotland and England. James loved the idea of unity. He began calling himself King of Great Britain, although Parliament never formally recognised the title. He envisioned a united realm, but his attempts to fully merge the two kingdoms met with resistance. One of the most famous events of his reign was the Gunpowder Plot of 1605, a failed attempt by a group of Catholic conspirators, including the infamous Guy Fawkes, to blow up the House of Lords and assassinate the king. The plot was discovered in time, and James's survival was celebrated as divine deliverance. James is also remembered for his intellectual pursuits. He wrote extensively, including works like Demonology, which reflected his fear of witchcraft and helped fuel witch hunts across Scotland and England. He also published Basilicon Doron, a manual on kingship for his son Henry, and a counterblast to tobacco, a scathing attack on the rising popularity of smoking. But his most enduring legacy is arguably the King James Bible, first published in 1611, a translation that has shaped English-speaking Christianity and literature for over 400 years. And James's reign wasn't without controversy. He had a tendency to favour male courtiers, the most famous being George Villiers, Duke of Buckingham, with whom he had a particularly close and still much debated relationship. As he aged, James became increasingly unwell. He suffered from gout, arthritis and kidney problems, and he was often bedridden in his final years. He died on the 27th of March 1625 at Theobald's house and was buried in Westminster Abbey, leaving the throne to his son Charles I. James VI, James I, was a king of contradictions. A scholar and a skeptic, a believer in absolutism, but a ruler who avoided war, a man shaped by violence yet devoted to peace. Whether you admire him or not, there's no denying that his reign was a pivotal chapter in British history. Thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this dive into the life of King James VI, King James I, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. I've got lots more Tudor and Stuart history coming up.